So once again, this is my Telegram channel, and we had just started off with philosophical and constitutional framework of the government. And here again, we had just started with the beginning of the discussions with regard to the constitution. And here again, I told you कि ये सब पॉलिटी का एक हिस्सा है, ये चैप्टर ज्यादा से ज्यादा पॉलिटी का एक हिस्सा है, तो वही चीज हम यहीं पर भी करने वाले हैं. तो आगे देखेंगे अभी. Sovereign democratic republic. Sovereign because India is independent. Matlab, India does not come under any country. India does not come under any organization. Whatever decisions we take it by ourselves. We are not going to do anything because कोई और देश ने हमसे कहा तो हम ये करेंगे. No. We will look into our own interests also, and only then, based on, yes, mutual understanding, cooperation, etc., we'll take a call. But largely, we are not a vassal state. That is, we are not the subsidiary of any larger country. We don't owe allegiance to the British or anybody. Democratic because power comes from the people. True. Power comes from the people. Democracy means a government by the people, for the people, and of the people. Republic. Republic simply means head of the state is indirectly elected by the people. Head of the state is indirectly elected. Good afternoon, Suganya. It is entirely indirectly elected. Means not a direct election. It's not that people elect the president. The MLAs and the MPs, elected MLAs and the MPs, they are involved here. Clear? Again, secular. This is one word which the media also unfortunately uses in a very wrong context. Kaise? Good afternoon, Abhinav. Secular means what? Secular, first of all, many people say, I'm a very secular individual. It's a wrong usage. They will ask also, are you secular? Are you a secular person? No, there is nothing called as a secular person. Secular means there are two meanings to it. How politics is associated with religion. राजनीति और मजहब, इन दोनों का रिश्ता क्या है एक स्टेट के अंदर. Positive meaning of secularism is state supports all the religion, which is what we find in India. किसी एक रिलीजन को ज्यादा सपोर्ट देना, किसी एक रिलीजन को कम देना, ऐसा नहीं है. They give it for everyone. Everybody has freedom of religion, freedom of maintaining and managing their own institutions. ये आजादी सबके पास है. It is enshrined in the constitution. Negative meaning of secularism means politics is completely separated from religion. Religion अपना जगह, politics अपना जगह. This is what we see in the West, especially in USA. Getting the point here. So secularism, we see it from a perspective of a state. Religious, when you talk about an individual, the question to be asked is, are you a religiously tolerant person? Religiously tolerant हो क्या आप? Tolerant का मतलब क्या है? किसी दूसरे इंसान का विश्वास या मजहब अलग है, आपके विश्वास से अलग है. आप उसको इज्जत देने के लिए तैयार है? क्या आप ये मानने के लिए तैयार है कि भाई उनका विश्वास, उनका खुशी, छोड़ दो उनके रास्ते पर? Are you at least able to do that much? That is called religiously being tolerant. Being tolerant to other people's cultures, other people's belief system, other people's religion. Secularism, when we say, understand, it is the state that is supposed to be secular. Supporting all the religions equally, treating all the religions equally. Clear? Secular state respects all faiths and gives freedom to practice the same. Good afternoon, Lipika. Constitution is supreme. Ye discussion, we had done this already when I was talking about the British Constitution. British Constitution, if you remember, it is a lengthy document. There is nothing called as, so Indian Constitution, I can put it in the back of my pocket. I can pull it out and I can tell this is the Indian Constitution. British Constitution, if you see, it keeps on evolving based on what judiciary के हर एक interpretation पर Constitution and the laws keeps on changing. All right. So, and even the interpretation from the side of the parliament, it keeps on changing. In Britain, the parliament is supreme because parliament has that right. Sorry, not judiciary in Britain. Parliament is supreme there. So parliament, with each new rule or law that keeps on coming out, it gets added to the constitution. So if you go to Britain, Great Britain, and you ask them, okay, show me your constitution, they'll take you to a room and they will show you that from one end to the other end. These are all our constitution. Where does it start? From one end it will start. Where does it end? There is no end to it. It keeps on getting added up. So parliament is supreme there because parliament will decide what is right or wrong. Where? In Britain. In India, constitution is supreme. Anything that we do when I say, चाहे वो government हो, parliament हो, legislative assembly हो, या judiciary हो, whatever they are doing or not doing is within the limits of the constitution. जितना कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन आपको आजादी दे रहे हैं, क्या उतना ही आपने ले लिया है या आपने ज्यादा कुछ किया? Did you overstep the boundary beyond the limits set by the constitution? That is what always the judiciary also will see. Getting the point here? So constitution is supreme in our country. It is not specifically mentioned in the constitution. However, it is the basic, fundamental and supreme law of the land. All the organs, legislative, executive and judiciary, are expected to function within the boundaries set by it. Supreme Court has been given powers to protect the constitution. It therefore keeps a check on the exigencies that may be committed by the executive or judiciary or legislature. It has the powers to strike down any bill that intends to alter the basic structure of the constitution. Electoral bond scheme. Supreme Court struck it down, calling it unconstitutional. Getting the idea? Rigid and flexible. Partly rigid, as it is not easy to amend the constitution as in England. England, like I told you, Parliament can keep changing the laws. Partly flexible. Why? Because it is not so difficult as it is difficult in USA. US constitution, amendment of it is not at all possible. Getting the point here? That means, like I told you, the gun laws in USA. Gun laws in USA, what is the trouble here? We know in USA we keep reading, right? A student took a gun, went to school, killed his teachers, killed his students, his classmates. We keep hearing this. Every year, minimum 2-3 such incidents gets reported in the media. More than any terror attack or any other attack on planet Earth, in USA, on an average, gun violence के वजह से जो लोग मारे जा रहे हैं, वो कोई भी आतंकवादी अटैक हमले से भी उसका आंकड़ा जो है वो बड़ा है. Why? Because US law clearly states that every citizen has the right to own firearms. साफ साफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के अंदर ही लिखा है कि हर सिटीजन के पास यह हक बनता है कि वो फायर आर्म्स रख सकते हैं. जब ये कानून बनाया था, इट वाज इन द obviously in the 1700s and all that. So obviously they also wouldn't have thought ज्यादा, क्योंकि उस जमाने का गन्स भी आपको मालूम है, आप एक बुलेट ही लोड कर सकते हैं एक बार. अगर वापस फायर करना है, वापस खोलकर शेल फेंको, put the new one, then load it, then fire it. So everybody probably would have had 1 or 2 guns. Today the scenario is such that an average, that is especially if you go to this Texas, there is a place called Texas in USA. Texas region and all, if you go, you enter a home, you will find like what you see it in movies and all, 3 to 4 assault rifles. That is, assault rifles means those rifles which can fire around 20 to 30 bullets in a minute. Utna bullets fire kar sakte hain. Then different handguns. There is no limit to which how many guns you want to own. There is no limit. Because of this, what happens? There is a thriving black market also. People buy and sell guns illegally also. These days, what is happening is people are manufacturing their own guns thanks to 3D printing. And what is the reason? The real reason for all of this is what? There is a constitutional provision. So change करो उसको. Change नहीं कर सकते. It is not easy. Not at all easy to amend the Constitution of USA. So एक तरफ if you see England, very, very easy to keep changing the Constitution. दूसरे तरफ if you see USA, very difficult to change the Constitution. Middle line per you are having what? India. Not too easy, not too difficult. Getting the point here. Amendment procedure of Constitution of India, golden mean. Simple majority, special majority, and special majority with ratification by at least half of the state legislatures. These are the three types of amendments are possible. Simple majority, then there is a special majority, 2/3 of the members present and voting. Then you have special majority with ratification by at least half of the state legislatures. Third provision simply means that is, you want to bring out a law which will affect the state's powers also, then you need it to be ratified by at least half of the state legislatures. Best example for this is right now, the one nation, one election. The Indian Constitution has been amended 106 times as on September 2023. Clearly shows what amendment is not at all that difficult. Basic structure of the Constitution cannot be amended. Basic structure, again, it has not been mentioned anywhere in the Constitution. It is a judicial creation created through the Keshavananda Bharati case 1973. This was reiterated. Reiterated means like cemented, repeated in the Minerva Mills case 1980. All right, moving on. Basic structure of the Constitution. So what and all consists of the basic structure? Preamble, supremacy of the Constitution, rule of law, secular polity, federal character of the Constitution, sovereignty of the country, republican and democratic form of government, distribution of powers between legislature, executive and judiciary, fundamental rights, independent judiciary, harmony between fundamental rights and DPSP. These are some of the features that comes under basic structure. Again, understand ये लिस्ट ऐसा नहीं है कि यहां से लेकर यहां तक बस इतना ही है, इतना ही बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर है. नो, these we understand from what? From various judicial rulings. This is our general idea. This is not an exhaustive list. और भी हम अगर चाहो तो ऐड कर सकते हैं. There is nothing wrong with it. This is our general understanding after going through the various judicial rulings. That's it. Clear, people? Moving on. Parliamentary or cabinet government. Prime Minister and his cabinet, mostly drawn from Lok Sabha, they are responsible for their official acts. Cabinet is collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. So we know it very well. Parliament consists of the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Most of the time, the members, very good Lipika, most of the time we know that the Prime Minister largely comes from Lok Sabha, but there has been exceptional cases like Prime Minister Manmohan Singh was actually a member of Rajya Sabha. So from the Lok Sabha itself only you elect what? You elect the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. And because they are all members of the Parliament, they are answerable to the Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha mein they are answerable. Clear? Cabinet, when we say, it is again like group of collective ministers within the Council of Ministers. And that is also, and why we say cabinet, because Council of Ministers if this is your cabinet, then this is your council of ministers. It's the ulta, sorry. This is your cabinet and this is your council of ministers with the prime minister heading it. Important फैसले लेते वक्त prime minister will mostly discuss it with the cabinet and take the decision. That is why generally you will see some important decisions and all. If you see, Waqf bill gets cabinet clearance, new education policy gets cabinet clearance. मतलब क्या है? फैसला ले लिया है, गवर्नमेंट ने फैसला ले लिया, अब इसका बिल बनेगा, इसका बिल, वो बिल का प्रेजेंटेशन हो जाएगा लोकसभा और राज्यसभा में, and then there will be debate and discussion. After it gets passed from Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, then it goes to then it will go to whom? Where will I draw this? Yeah. Then it goes to the president for his or her signature, or rather what we call proper technical term, the assent. Once the assent is received, only then the bill becomes an act. Clear? That is why you call it parliamentary form of government, because they are responsible to the Lok Sabha, number one. Or it is also called the cabinet form of government, because most important decisions are taken by the prime minister along with the cabinet. Correct? Taking it further forward, they remain in office as long as they enjoy the confidence of the Lok Sabha. A bill proposed by the cabinet but not passed by the Lok Sabha can lead to the fall of the government. अब इसका मतलब क्या है? Enjoying the confidence. Enjoying the confidence का simple मतलब है as long as you have majority. Majority का मतलब you have enough, the number of MPs supporting the government is greater than 272, then you can be in power. जैसे कि currently, if you see the current NDA government, if you see, it is there in power because of the support that is being extended by the party of Chandrababu Naidu from Andhra Pradesh. Correct? Let us say, due to some reason, Chandrababu Naidu decides to not support them anymore and instead support the Indie Alliance. Decides to support the Indie Alliance. Then definitely they don't have the majority. They will fail. First scenario. Second scenario, a bill, Waqf bill, let us say, gets passed here. I mean, Council of Ministers and the cabinet put together, they decide, okay, we are going to bring a Waqf bill. They decided. Now they presented the bill here inside the Lok Sabha. Doesn't pass the Lok Sabha. Doesn't pass there. Now it doesn't pass means what? That means they don't have the majority. They don't have the numbers. More than 272 MPs don't support the Waqf bill means the government is not having the requisite majority. Getting the point? It is not that a bill is not passed, immediately the government will resign. Not necessary. Then you can request for what? A vote of no confidence bill you can present. Telling that, see, they presented a bill and they couldn't get it passed. In the Lok Sabha it matters, not in Rajya Sabha. Then that vote of confidence, if it is not passed here, government will have to resign. Getting the point here? So it's a very intricate balance. A bill not getting passed in Lok Sabha, not necessary that automatically it will lead to what? A complete dissolution. It clearly shows that they don't have the confidence. Now you put up a vote of confidence, maybe 272 MPs will support it. Depends, because what happens is sometimes with certain bills, the certain alliance partners, they won't be happy with it. So they will say, no, we are not going to support this bill. But we are ready to support your government. Getting the point? So it's a tricky balance actually. It's a very tricky balance. Whether government will continue or not, it is always a tricky thing. Clear? We have a titular or nominal head of the government. That is, we have president at the central level and we have governor at the state level. President can act only according to the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers settled by the Prime Minister, except in those matters as mentioned in the Constitution where he may exercise his individual discretion. This also we have seen. That is, see, be it the president or be it the governor, they have very limited area where they can act independently without listening to the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. Very few areas are only there. And in president's case, it is very, very clear. It is only when there is no clear majority, when there is a loss of majority, that is, a government suddenly loses its power, doesn't have the support anymore. Only in very exceptional cases, president has power. Otherwise, कोई भी काम करने के लिए president has to act according to the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. अब पिछले 10 साल के what is it? If you take a count, if you look at the performance of the president, that is starting with our be it Pranab Mukherjee or later Ramnath Kovind or even the current Draupadi Murmu, if you really see, president has not done anything which is controversial or which is, let us say, against the government's wishes. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं हुआ है. We don't have activism presidents anymore. Rather, most of the presidents are basically following whatever advice or aid is provided by the Council of Ministers. Clear, people? More on this, we will be taking it up when we take up center-state relations. It's coming up. When you take up union government, there we'll be discussing all this. All right. Real executive, swim and sing together. Cabinet is a secret and deliberative body. Prime Minister, the keystone of the cabinet. Cabinet can be removed through a successful vote of no confidence. That means swim and sing together. Matlab kya hai? If they lose their vote of confidence, then all of them will have to resign. No other go. That is the bottom line. If they have confidence, they all will have power. If they don't have, they will sink together. साथ में जाएंगे, साथ में गिरेंगे. That is the point here. Clear, people? Moving on. A cabinet government will have nominal and real executive. In India's case, president and prime minister. Majority party rule. The current NDA alliance. Collectively responsible. All the ministers, all the Council of Minister cabinet entirely, along with the prime minister, is responsible to the Lok Sabha. Political homogeneity. That is the beauty here. Why political homogeneity? Because at least for 5 years, you have continuation in the policies. Minimum. And as long as you have the vote, you keep winning the election, you will have continuity in power. What we see in the center right now, 2014 to now 2024 is also done. Basically till 2029, if NDA continues to have its support from its alliance partners, it will be in power. Double membership. Why double membership? You are a minister for the government. That means you are part of the executive. Number one. Number two, to become a minister, sorry, not to become a minister. Yeah, true. To become a minister, minimum qualification required is you have to be an MP. Correct? If you don't become, can a person become a minister without being an MP? Yes, they can. But the only catch is they have to become a member of either house of the parliament, either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, within a certain time duration. How much is that? Put it out there. That is double membership. PM is the leader. Dissolution of lower house. That means what? The lower house can be dissolved after every 5 years. Rajya Sabha, on the other hand, it is a continuous house. Secrecy. Meetings, whatever happens within the cabinet, need not be disclosed to the public. You need not disclose it. You need not reveal all the details of the government also. Very good, Chaitanya. Presidential government, the American form of government. President is head of the state and head of the government also. Note that. Head of the government, head of the state. Two powers put together. Here we have checks and balances. President is not too powerful. Prime Minister is also not all powerful. Clear? But there in USA, both with the president only. President is elected by an electoral college, cannot be removed but can be impeached for grave unconstitutional acts. You cannot remove the president. Only you can impeach if you commit some grave unconstitutional act. Former US president came very close of getting impeached. President governs with the help of non-elected secretaries called kitchen cabinet. Case in point being, if you have seen, currently you will note Elon Musk is part of Trump administration. ये एब्सोल्युटली प्रेसिडेंट का डिस्कशन है कि वो किसको चूज करेंगे अपना काम करने के लिए, किसको अपॉइंट करेंगे. दिस इज एंटायरली अ प्रेसिडेंट्स डिस्कशन. नोबडी कैन इंटरफियर देयर. So Elon Musk has been appointed. Gujarati guy, an Indian origin guy with Gujarat, what is the connections? He has been made the FBI director. It's all the president's choice. They are not responsible to the Congress, nor do they have membership in the Congress. Congress, when you read it here, understand ये Congress कोई party नहीं है. This Congress is as good as our parliament. मतलब whatever decisions the president takes there, he or she does not have to give an explanation to the Parliament of USA. मैं और मेरा फैसला. That's the point. I am not going to allow any immigrants into this country to enter illegally. Trump decided. And what did we see? Trump, as soon as he got in, illegal immigrants will be deported. He made a signature. And within 1 week, what are we seeing? Flights are landing basically in Punjab. Why? Maximum illegal immigrants are from there. You are having illegal immigrants from Punjab, Haryana, Gujarat. When few are there, even from the state of Kerala. But maximum you can see it is from that belt, that region. Getting the point here. He started sending them off. No questions asked. Trump, many people are criticizing him. What is it? CNN News Network is criticizing the Trump's administration, this doing this, that, etc. is very bad, blah, 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 they're telling. But who cares? अगर 4 साल के लिए Trump will do whatever he or he wants, nobody is going to ask anything. Clear, people? They are not responsible to the Congress, nor do they have membership in Congress. Lower house cannot be dissolved by the president. There is complete doctrine of separation of powers. Doctrine of separation of powers means लेजिस्लेचर अपने जगह, एक्सिक्यूटिव अपने जगह, जुडिशरी भी अपने जगह. That is presidential form of government completely. And here again we know legislature and executive के ऊपर कौन भारी पड़ेगा? The president. President can literally take a lot of executive decisions. Bill will लाने के लिए, if you make a major change, let us say President Trump, can he actually bring a change to the gun law in this way? No. क्योंकि उसके लिए कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को बदलना पड़ेगा और उसके लिए बिल लाना पड़ेगा. That you will have to take it up with the legislature. That won't be easy. Because it is a constitutionally guaranteed right, fundamental right it is of USA. But any other executive action related to the law of the land, imposing counter tariff on China, yes. Imposing tariff on India. Why? 100% import duty you are putting on Harley Davidson. You are putting 100% import duty on an electric car manufactured by Tesla. ठीक है, I will impose 100% import duty on all your products coming from India. Let me see how you will run your business then. What other choice India will have then? India will have to reduce the tariff at least by a little. कम से कम 50% तक उसे कम करवाना पड़ेगा, वरना भारी पड़ेगा, बहुत भारी पड़ेगा. Or we will have to offer them something else. कि भाई चिंता मत करो, ये तारीफ के बगैर we will buy these products from you. Please, तारीफ आप अभी मत सोचो. Getting the point here. This is the way things work. Whereas in Indian system, if you see the cabinet form of government system, you will see it is basically what? It is one of basically mutual here you can see there are some areas where overlap happens between the legislature and the executive, between the executive and the judiciary, between the judiciary and the legislature. जहां जहां लेजिस्लेचर अपना काम नहीं कर रहा है, ढंग का कानून पास नहीं कर रहा है, जुडिशरी विल इंटरफियर. जहां जहां एक्सिक्यूटिव अपना काम नहीं कर रहा है, अगेन जुडिशरी विल इंटरफियर. Getting the point here. One example of executive not doing its job and judiciary interfering. Lodha committee for your IPL scam. आईपीएल स्कैम जब हुआ था, जैसे कि आईपीएल में मैच फिक्सिंग हो रहा है, ये हो रहा है, बहुत सारा मीडिया रिपोर्ट्स आ रहे थे. Judiciary, it is government's job to actually put up a committee and inquire into it. Before even the government could do anything, Supreme Court, what did they do? They said, we are only appointing a committee. जाकर जांच कर कर आ के what is the issue? Getting the point here? Then sometimes the government will ask, if the government is not doing, government wants some things to be changed. Legislature, it can definitely ask the legislature to do, bring the change. How? Say for example, one nation, one election. Getting the point here? Article that, see, that Article 50, what you're talking about, separation of executive and legislature, executive powers and legislature is largely to do with separation of judicial functions from executive officers. That is what Article 50's complete meaning, its purposes. Because we know it during the British era, district magistrate had what? Powers of, what is it? Even the judiciary. So judicial powers also with the district collector. Plus he's an executive officer. Itna powerful body tha, separated it out. Judicial powers will lie with the district or the sessions court judge. Collector का काम सिर्फ executive functions है, revenue collection, maybe overall in charge of public welfare, disaster management, revenue functions, that's it. Collector is not going to dispense with judicial, like dispense with justice. That's the job of the court. Getting the point here? So there is a certain element of separation, but cooperation is also there. Mutual cooperation is also there. That is how it is. Some areas are there which will overlap. So mutual cooperation it is in a cabinet form of a system. Whereas in a presidential system, everything is completely segregated out. Any questions here, people? Taking it further forward, federal government with unitary bias. Article 1 states that India is the union of states. Federation has not been used anywhere in the constitution. India is an indestructible union of destructible states. Means central government can change the boundary of any state, alter the area of a state. Why? Even destroy a state completely. Can do it. No need of any prior permission from anybody. It will be a political, blunder. No doubt about it. But that is the point here. You cannot destroy the union. You can destroy the state if you want. Means what? Indian Union has not been formed as a result of what? An agreement between the states. It is not that the state of Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Karnataka, everybody came together, then Delhi, UP, everybody came together and said, okay, let us form a union between ourselves. No. That is not how India was formed. The concept of India, if you actually see Bharat or Bharat Varsha, is there since the ancient times. Since the ancient times, this concept of this whole geographical entity called India existed. The modern version India name that came now, but this whole geographical entity or the subcontinental entity or the geographic identity what we have has largely helped in cultivating the political identity what we have today. So ये एक agreement नहीं था. We formed states for our administrative convenience. We formed states. Okay, we will based on language, we will do it because administratively it will be easy to run the country. We did that. But no state can secede from the union. मैं जा रही हूं, चलो छोड़ो, तू कट्टी आपसे, आज के बाद I'm not going to be part of India. No state can do that. Whereas in USA, the United States of America, right from the name of the country itself, you can see what? The states came together and as part of an agreement, they came together and formed the country called USA. That is how USA was born. Whereas that is not the case with India. Or in other words, in USA, any state, if they want, they can secede from the union. They can move out. They can say we are going to be a completely independent country. Get lost. They can do that. Not in India. In India, no state can do that. Clear? Single constitution. Earlier under Article 370, Jammu and Kashmir enjoyed a special status as a result of which it had a separate constitution. On August 5th, 2019, through a presidential order, the special status enjoyed by J&K was revoked. This again we know, J&K had special powers. Special powers means what was the special power? Any rule passed by the parliament. If it is applicable throughout the country, it won't be applicable in J&K. कोई भी कानून पार्लियामेंट अगर पास किया है J&K में उससे अप्लाई करने के लिए J&K assembly should pass it separately. Only then it will get implemented there. Otherwise, no. Because I now you people, I don't know whether you'll be realizing this, but when I used to prepare, I remember it still in Lakshmikant, Indian polity especially, whenever you read most of the sentences, they will say this is applied everywhere in India, anywhere in India, except J&K, except J&K. In the old editions, you can see that sentence always. In other words, J&K's legislative assembly was having superior powers than the parliament of our country or than any other legislative assembly of the country. This governmental order, again, presidential order, the status was revoked. The special status was revoked and J&K, what basically it was brought equal to India. Sorry, the J&K status was converted into a union territory and basically they said that it will have just as much as the same powers as any other union territory of India. When the matter went to the Supreme Court, also Supreme Court said the same thing. How can they alone have so much of powers? J&K alone cannot have so much of powers. J&K has only as much powers as any other state in the country. There is nothing unique about J&K, which makes it so different from maybe the state of Kerala or that of Arunachal Pradesh or that of Gujarat. Getting the point here? Moving on. Distribution of powers between center and states. Clearly defined. Central list, state list. Independent and integrated judiciary that safeguards the constitution. A system of courts, whatever we have, lower courts, high court, Supreme Court. Dual polity. Union and states have their own set of legislative, judicial, and executive organ. Parliament, Supreme Court, and then central government. State level, state legislative assembly, high court, and then state government. So that is why we call it dual polity. Moving on. Union list 100, state list 61, concurrent list 52. Residuary powers lies with the union government. British days residuary powers lied with the governor general or the viceroy. State should execute its powers in compliance with the laws made by the parliament. Article 256. State should not impede or prejudice the executive power of the union. Article 257. कुछ भी स्टेट कर रहा है, it should be in accordance with laws made by the parliament. State cannot act like as if they are superior than the parliament. No, state cannot do that. Number one, अगर state ने अगर for the sake of argument state ने ऐसा किया, then what is the end result? President's rule. State should not impede or prejudice the executive power of the union. Article 257 means what? State should not interfere, दखलंदाजी, या फिर सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को बुरा दिखाने के लिए कोई गैर कानूनी हरकतें नहीं करना चाहिए. Government of India can undertake any executive, judicial, or legislative functions in a foreign territory on the basis of agreement with that territory. Again, the central government basically कोई भी action ले सकते हैं in a foreign territory. Full faith and credit clause, Article 261. That means any act passed or any law passed or any judicial ruling made has full faith and credit clause. That means it can be made applicable. It will be considered as a valid application in any part or territory of India. That is the reason why even a high court verdict also matters these days. A law passed by one state matters. So if Uttarakhand actually passed the uniform civil code there, correct? It is brought into action. So don't you think now this will be made applicable everywhere else? In other states, if again half of the state legislatures in the country passes uniform civil code, तो फिर पार्लियामेंट को वो पास करने के लिए कितना वक्त लगेगा फिर? Getting the point here? That is the idea. Then uniformity in administration through AIS, All India Services, to bring a sense of uniformity. IAS, IPS, IFS. Right, people? Article 275. Parliament is authorized to give grants in aid to states from the Consolidated Fund of India on the recommendations of the Finance Commission. According to GST rules, IGST has to be shared between center and states in the ratio 50-50, and the recommendations of the 15th Finance Commission bind the union government to give 42% from its shares to the states. This is Article 275. यानी कि Consolidated Fund of India से based on the recommendations of Finance Commission states के लिए फंड मिल जाएगा. ये एक तरफ. GST rules के हिसाब से 42% of the taxes collected should go to the states. But what is the hakikat of it? What is the reality? All of this we will be taking it up when we take up the center-state relations separately, and in that we will be dealing with Finance Commission, उसके recommendation, हकीकत क्या है, states क्या blame कर रहे हैं, center क्या blame कर रहे हैं. These all we will see from a practical level. In other words, this chapter is almost like a trailer. आने वाले main picture के trailer है ये chapter. Clear, people? Universal adult franchise. Setting a unique precedent among nations completes the preamble in spirit. Why? Because universal adult franchise literally gave political justice to a country at the time when 86% of the country was illiterate. The condition of women was pathetic. We decided to go for universal adult suffrage. Why condition of women pathetic means I will tell you. First Election Commission of India, Mr. Sukumar Sen, he had a really tough time making the voters list. Why? What does list means? Let us say now Lipika. So Lipika will not give her name. Lipika will instead give her father's name, that is X's daughter. Or if Lipika was married at that point, she will rather give Y's wife. This is the way they used to put it up. Not their own name. How to give my own name? पराए मर्द को मेरा खुद का नाम मैं कैसे दूं? क्या वाहियात सवाल पूछ रहे हैं ये लोग. This was the soch that time. Sukumar Sen deleted that whole list and he sent it back again. He said, naam likhkar wapas bhej. Again, people did not budge. He was like nothing doing. Those who have not given their own name, no vote for them. That means Sukumar Sen should be given the credit for the first person who actually empowered the normal, ordinary, illiterate, powerless women of this country to get politically empowered. समझ में आ रहे हो? सिंपल सी बात है, खुद का नाम दे दो, खुद के नाम के दम पे. पापा कौन है, पति कौन है, बेटा कौन है, ना, खुद के नाम के दम पे जाकर वोट लगाकर आ जाओ. Small step or a decision taken by one civil servant changed the whole scenario of the future of women in Indian society. Clear, people? Moving on. Constitutionalism. It began in Greece 23 centuries ago. Constitution was not a written fundamental law. Laws were not unconstitutional, but just good or bad. Constitutional government to the Greeks was not a limited government. All constitutionalism is based on higher law. मतलब देखो ये constitution का first of all framework, where did we get it from? We got it from Greece. 23 centuries ago means you can imagine 2300 years ago. And what was constitution back then? Was it a written law? No. Then what was it? Constitution simply meant limited government. लिमिटेड गवर्नमेंट का मतलब है गवर्नमेंट मनमानी नहीं कर सकते. यू पुट अ फ्रेमवर्क. ये इतने फ्रेम के अंदर यू कैन डू योर जॉब. डोंट ओवरस्टेप योर बाउंड्रीज. दिस वाज वेरी क्लियरली मेंशन्ड. गेटिंग द पॉइंट हियर. Clearly mentioned. Based on that only the whole concept started evolving. आज के तारीख पर भी, that is why constitution is sometimes called what? Limited government. Government मनमानी नहीं कर सकते because government is answerable to the parliament. It is not about the exercise of coercive power or force. The Romans brought in cosmopolitanism. It paved way for humanitarianism and eventually universal citizenship. जैसे कि रोमन साम्राज्य, the Roman Empire got built. The Roman Empire had people from all walks of life because obviously it's a huge empire spanning in Europe into Asia and all that. So basically it was a huge empire. They had all types of people, all types of cultures. That brought in the concept of what? Human rights, universal citizenship. ओके तुम्हें तुम्हारा कल्चर बड़ा है, ओके तुम वो करो. ओ तुम्हें तुम्हारा कल्चर बड़ा है, तुम वो प्रैक्टिस करो. सर्टेन सेंस ऑफ टॉलरेंस. दैट इज रोमन एम्पायर मेड इट पॉसिबल दैट अलग अलग देशों के लोग भी साथ साथ बिना झगड़े हुए जी सकते हैं. एंड दे एंश्योर्ड इट थ्रू अ सर्टेन सेंस ऑफ लॉ. कानून भी बना दिया ताकि सब लोग साथ में जी सके. कॉस्मोपॉलिटन कल्चर. Clear. The Romans gave systems of checks and balances, doctrine of popular sovereignty, that is the people are supreme, principle of higher law or natural law or limited government. Higher law or natural law or limited government, मतलब गवर्नमेंट से भी ऊपर कुछ ना कुछ है. हमारे देश में गवर्नमेंट के ऊपर भी क्या है? कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. You cannot say the parliament actually. Government is answerable to the parliament. That is there. But ऐसा नहीं कि parliament ऊपर है government से या फिर government ऊपर है. It's all similar. They are all in equal plane. ना judiciary government के ऊपर है, ना government judiciary के ऊपर है. सब बराबर है यहाँ पर. लेकिन सब लोग किसके नीचे काम करना पड़ेगा? कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के नीचे. पार्लियामेंट ऑल्सो हैज टू लिसन टू द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, जुडिशरी ऑल्सो हैज टू अबाइड बाय इट, एंड सो इज द केस with the executive. Clear, people? The principle that the whole people was the exclusive source of legal authority became a fundamental part of Roman constitution. Greece and Rome distinguished between fundamental law and ordinary law, but neither of them put any effort in documenting the same. Medieval European constitution lacked means to enforce the principles that they were advocating. That is, natural law is the basic law behind a limited government. Principle that the whole people was the exclusive source. Yani ki, if you read our preamble also, we the people of India give it to ourselves. This constitution, that is a sentence, we the people of India. Not that कोई और आकर हमें ये constitution दे दिया. We are giving it to ourselves. Means what? Constitution also derives its power from where? The people. That idea where we got it from? Romans. Greece and Rome distinguished between fundamental law and ordinary law, but they never wrote it down anywhere. Clarity they did not give. Medieval European constitution lacked means to enforce the principles that they were advocating. तो बहुत सारे बड़े बड़े principles थे. Great thought, great सोच. But in reality, its implementation was very poor. And everything was rather was based on what? The principles of natural law. Any doubts so far, people? Any doubts here? Okay, before anybody asks, natural law. Natural law simply means that law which governs human behavior. How humans will behave in a different settings, in different situations, naturally. Naturally, what will be their orientation towards, let us say, ethics, or how they would behave philosophically. That is what natural law means. The natural behavior given in any situation. That used to be the founding principle earlier. Not anymore. Today we don't go by natural law. We go by rule of law. Sab log same. Sab log barabar. Getting the point? Everybody will have the same amount of protection. Everybody has the same amount of rights. No natural law at all. Clear? Revolution was the only check against its violation. Therefore, it became necessary to implement constitutionalism through legal means. मतलब क्या है? If natural law is not being followed, what is natural law? Now, basically, let us say king is dying. So, automatically, who should be the next king? The prince. But somebody decides no. Somebody decides to kill the king, kill the prince also, and become the next king. Who will not like it? People. Because as per natural law, king ke baad it should be the prince. So, you murdered the prince now, people will revolt and kill you. तो बार बार क्या हो रहा था कि जब कोई ना कोई नेचुरल लॉ को वायलेट करेगा तो द ओनली वे टू रिस्टोर नॉर्मलसी एंड ऑर्डर वाज दंगल. So now you needed a clarity. You needed to stop with this whole nonsense. We cannot have every time revolt. Kitne baar people will keep revolting. Thus, it became necessary to implement constitutionalism through legal means. That means put it down in paper legally. Doctrine of a higher law and limited government came to USA from England. English made interpretation of law the domain of the judges and excluded the king from it. The doctrine of a fundamental law and that only judges can interpret the law are the foundations of American constitutionalism. Constitution is a reflection of values, beliefs and ideals of the people. मतलब एक fundamental law होना चाहिए, and that fundamental law should be only be interpreted by the judges, nobody else. Fundamental law is constitution. In other words, constitution में क्या सही है या क्या गलत, गवर्नमेंट ने जो भी किया है ये सही है या गलत, ये तय करने का फैसला सिर्फ और सिर्फ जुडिशरी का है. And this idea Americans got from where? From England. In England, what did they do? They kept judges and the king separate. Judges तय करेगा कि किंग के हरकतें सही थे या गलत. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पर जो भी बदलाव लाया है ये सही थे या गलत. Only the judges can interpret this. Getting the point here? We have also borrowed almost the same thing. President of our country cannot interfere in matters of the judiciary. Parliament of the country cannot interfere in the matters of the judiciary. Judiciary cannot interfere in any matters said or done inside the parliament. Judiciary also cannot interfere. Getting the picture? Moving on. Our constitution reflects the thought process and ethics of our makers. Constitutionalism is what we intend to achieve through the means of constitution. It's the power of a document to control the government. Constitution is the defense against absolute power of the state. It keeps a check on the actions of the government. Powers are proscribed, means clearly given. What are the powers? Procedure is prescribed. The detailed description is given. Limited government is the best government क्योंकि मनमानी आप नहीं कर सकते. Rule of law. It's between no restraint and all restraint. That means it's the exact balance. No restraint means जो करना है कर लो. All restraint means government कुछ भी नहीं कर सकते. कोई भी काम करने से पहले पूछना पड़ेगा. It's exactly between that. Constitutionalism simply means how are you going to achieve the ideals or values of the society through the document or tool of constitution. It is basically limited government. गवर्नमेंट क्या कर सकते हैं, कितना पावर्स है, क्या नहीं कर सकते हैं, इसका पूरा डिटेल्ड एप्लीकेशन. एनी क्वेश्चंस हियर पीपल? All right. Political power not to be exercised arbitrarily establishes a condition of political equality characterized by a balance of power between all relevant groups and parties. You try to bring in a condition of political equality, barabari, between what? Characterized by a balance of power between all the relevant groups and parties. Everybody has equal political power here. Formal groups, informal groups, whatever it is, everybody can express their opinion politically. Correct? William G. Andrews. So, according to William G. Andrews, constitutionalism, if you see, it is structure and process of the government. It is rule of law. It is broad goals. It is policy matters. If you talk about Carl J. Frederick, he basically told constitutionalism is division of power, making the government responsible. According to Karl Lowenstein, it is differentiation, means different bodies will be there, legislature, executive, judiciary. Planned mechanism, क्या कर सकते हैं क्या नहीं. Mechanism for avoiding frictions and deadlocks, so that there is clear cooperation between legislature, executive and judiciary. There is also cooperation between center, state and local bodies. Method to adjust the constitution, very definitely, because we have more than 100 amendments today. Fundamental liberties and freedom with the means of protecting them. We have fundamental rights and also we have Article 32 and Article 226 to ensure that any violation of the fundamental rights, there is a constitutional remedy for the same. All right, people. A.K. Gopalan versus State of Madras, articles of the Constitution are to be read separately rather than together. In the Keshavananda Bharati versus State of Kerala, Parliament cannot alter the basic structure of the Constitution. In Maneka Gandhi versus Union of India, reversed the stance on A.K. Gopalan case, Supreme Court started to play an unprecedented role in the governance of the Constitution. Matlab, this though you know, Keshavananda Bharati case, that you already know. Parliament cannot alter the basic structure. That is so theek hai. What is the A.K. Gopalan case? Read each article separately, not together. But from the Maneka Gandhi 1978 case onwards, Supreme Court basically said that no, you have to take it together. Look at the whole context. Then decide on the constitutionality or unconstitutionality. अब यहां से क्या हो गया, इस एक वर्डिक्ट की वजह से every matter it started going to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has to look into everything now. Look into the original content of the article, why it was made, in what context it was made. Today, in this current context, will it work or not? All that the Supreme Court had to see now. Look at the whole picture, not just isolated. You remember in the earlier, when the earlier Chief Justice of India was there, Mr. Chandrachud, he gave a verdict where he basically told that property cannot be taken away just like that. Just because right to property is not a fundamental right, but it is still a constitutional right. It is mentioned in the Constitution. You cannot simply come and take, the state cannot simply come and take it off. The context in which right to property was removed as a fundamental right, that was a socialist era. Between the 1947 to 1990, it was a socialist era. In that zamana, you took away right to property. Agreed. Today, we have embraced LPG, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. It's been more than 30 years. In the current context, property needs to be protected of private individuals. State, without any reason, cannot go and grab the property of private individuals. That is the latest ruling what he gave just a few months before he retired. Getting the point? In other words, what has he done through that one verdict? Somewhere he has elevated the status of property. अब government कोई फालतू reason कहकर cannot grab away your property anymore. Government has to give you proper compensation because that is the latest verdict from Supreme Court. Clear? We'll continue. Just take a small break. We'll be back at 3:10. Coming to constitutionalism in India, we have a written constitution. So how are we ensuring that we have a limited form of government? How do we ensure it? Written constitution, parliamentary democracy, elections every 5 years, rule of law, fundamental rights, separation of powers between legislature and executive and the judiciary, enough number of checks and balances through UPSC, Comptroller and Auditor General, Election Commission of India, media, RTI, flexible constitution but no changes allowed to the basic structure. Enough amount of amendments you can make without altering the basic structure. Federal polity, independent judiciary and judicial review. These are the basic ingredients of constitutionalism in India. These principles have evolved from the era of Kautilya to the judicial rulings made by the apex court. Okay. Problems or criticism of constitutionalism. Very quickly, we'll wind this also up. Why do we? So we are having constitutionalism. That is, we have a limited form of government. We are ensuring that things should go very smoothly. All of that. But the criticism of constitutionalism is that in spite of this, why did we have wars then? 1962, 1965, 1971, 1997, Kargil War, even 1947-48, Kashmir War. If things are supposed to go smoothly, the war shouldn't have happened. Or at least future wars should have been avoided. In spite of the constitutionalism, 81 crore people are still dependent on Indian government for food. Emergency, 1975. More than 80,000 cases are pending in the Supreme Court. If there was real clarity in our laws, means why is it the judiciary is overburdened with so many cases? Too much of public opinion. Best example, 3 farm bills. We protest at the drop of a hat, even before we get to know what is the reality of the whole thing, what is the real issue with the bill, etc. Even before discussing or debating, we start protesting and opposing everything. Even when the whole discussion of NRC and CAA came, and this is nothing to do with the ordinary people also, even celebrities, people who call themselves educated. Best example for this is Mr. Farhan Akhtar. Even today also, I think the video will be available in YouTube. The whole NRC and CAA bill related protest was going on. Media seeing a VVIP standing there, Mr. Farhan Akhtar, they went and asked him, why are you here? He said, because I'm here to protest against this whole thing. So they asked him, okay, if you're protesting means you should have read the bill then. So he said, no. And they are like, then why are you protesting? His answer was, अब इतने लोग यहाँ पर आए हुए तो कुछ ना कुछ तो होगा उस बिल में, इसलिए I have also come. It is almost like, okay, free biryani के announcement if I make here today, एक भीड़ आएगा यहाँ पर, भीड़ देख के I would have lied that I'm going to give biryani. भीड़ देख के कोई भी उधर से पास कर रहा है, उसको भी लगेगा हाँ बिरयानी मिलने वाला है अभी. Getting the point here, we have become a very, very intolerant society. Secessionist forces, insurgency in different parts of the country. Terrorism is there, Naxalism is there, and even foreign forces, especially China, etc. are there, which are trying really, really hard to break our country. Future prospect of constitutionalism, it is going to be very, very difficult. First issue with constitutionalism, what the constitution needs to prepare for these days is basically fake videos, fake images, fake data. Deep fake, we already know deep fake videos generated. It has gone to it has become so shameless to the point where there is this old photograph of Amitabh Bachchan and I think Aishwarya Rai after winning a Filmfare award together. They both won in the same year. So both of them are standing together. Somebody has used that image and they have created an AI video where it is showing that Amitabh Bachchan is kissing Aishwarya Rai. Shamelessness at its peak. Rise in intolerance, hate speech, using AI and 5G to deliver goods and services to people, that from good governance to high-tech governance. Best example, which I've always been telling you, WhatsApp governance. Zero interface between people and government department. That is the future. That means the whole idea here is how to include technology now in the constitution. In the larger scheme of things, technology को कैसे इस्तेमाल करें constitutionalism लाने के लिए. Basically, the 3 new laws also, if you see, it's a right move. Why? Because it actually allows digital FIR, digitally submitting the evidence, digitally going for video hearing. That is, no need to go to the court. वीडियो कॉल लगवा दो, वीडियो ऑनलाइन हियरिंग कर दो. तो ये सारा प्रोविजंस यही दिखा रहा है कि आगे फ्यूचर में टेक्नोलॉजी कैसे लाऊं in the whole scheme of things, that is in judiciary, executive and legislature. All right, people. Political culture, it is an additional content. Additional content का मतलब ये है, understand this. We need to understand this to basically get an idea about what type of political culture we have in our country. It's a little bit to do with theory. Some thinkers who have contributed to this, some of them are very familiar to us, some of them are totally new. But like I told you, it is an additional content. It is not that from this chapter, this question will come for sure. No, but go through it. Don't skip it. At least go through it once. Clear? Because they can club 2-3 topics and they can do it. From this topic onwards, I'll be taking it up tomorrow. Tomorrow means Wednesday. Wednesday is the next class. I'm on leave tomorrow. All right. So from there, we will continue. All right. I know it is a little difficult for you. It is getting a little stressful also. I understand that. But this is how everywhere the classes runs. It will get a little more hectic with prelims. When with prelims around the corner and classes, it will always clash. But do bear. We can wind this up hopefully by April end. All right. So let's call it a day.